Haley Milas. She is the founder of the Intentional Muse, and it is a monthly print newspaper, and it's a community that she has so intentionally designed to help women live more artfully, intentional lives. I want to talk to her today all about her journey on how you began your whole career and what got you here. But in the Intentional Muse, she shares with us essays, interviews, and all creative practices that also weave in self-development, culture, and spirituality. As a little pause, we all know that I record live from New York City, so we might be hearing some sounds and ambulances, and we always send all the love to our community. Back to our beautiful muse and our goddess. Kaylee's all about really being intentional with her words. And when she's not writing, leading workshops, or planning the next issue of the Intentional Muse, you can usually find her walking her corgi through Central Park with her nose on a book, which you have shared so many good books with me, or enjoying a dirty martini at a dimly lit bar. How delightful. Welcome to Joyfully Empowered, my friend. I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here. It's always a joy when we get to connect.
I love how we connected. So we connected on, of course, a live event because I feel like even the events that you're posting on your stories, I'm always like, I need to check it out. So I was doing an event with L'Occitane maybe like 2, 3 months ago. I don't know, give or take, somewhere in the summer. And
Yeah,
one of my friends slash clients brought you in daily. And I feel like as soon as you and I connected and we met, we're like, oh my gosh, there are so many good things. And it was like that spark right away.
I completely agree. I loved it. I remember her telling me, like, we're gonna go to my business coach's event. And I was so down. I'm like, oh, this is up my alley. And then I met you and I'm like, oh my gosh, it was Kismet. It was so
Yes.
wonderful.
It was like perfect connection. Then I like immediately subscribed to the Intentional Muse, and I feel like our relationship keeps growing and growing.
Yeah, it does. You've even submitted your own work.
I know.
And it's
Ah,
been incredible. Like
ah,
you put so much value and love into your pieces. I love them.
thank you. That means a lot. That means so much. Tell me about currently what it means to you to live intentionally, sensually, artfully, like all those things that you are about. Like, I love to start there. Like, how is that showing up in your life?
Yeah, I think for me, living artfully is just about like making the most of the moments that we may consider mundane or little moments. I think that that's how you really like suck the marrow out of life and get the most of life. I'm someone where I feel like I was born and raised in Wisconsin, but I feel like I was made for New York and like our walking communities because, for example, I wake up every morning and I walk Stabler, our dog, to the park, and I pass the same people. We have little chats. Like I'm not going and rushing and trying to like get to the park, get back so I can start work. Like I leave time to meander and marinate in my community. That looks like me brewing coffee in the morning and not being on my phone, like scrolling as it happens. Maybe I'll do a little dance or chat with my husband or like look out the window and see what's going down on the street below. Um, I feel like those are such small things that just make life so juicy and lovely.
You know that lately, and I say lately, probably this year, where I'm in this space of like looking in between and even auditing who I'm following or how am I curating my life. And when I started following you, what you're saying, it's so true. Like, I do think that you're not just saying that, like, you're about it. Even like the energy on how you're showing up online, I can only imagine. And I know we're going to hang out soon in person again, which I'm so excited. But I can really feel that that's what your life is about. You had even posted a picture of, I guess, like brick or the brick or whatever it is, where it like blocks your phone for a few hours to focus. And I'm like, I need to get one of those. And I feel like even living in a city that's very much geared towards that productivity and achievement, you find people like you and even like me, where even though the city almost like pulls you towards what's next, or if you want to ride the wave of it can be gentle and it can be flow. And even some days can be very much like productivity and high achievement. Other days can truly be about the flower shop and like the coffee shop. And like you posted a story about getting the recipe for a tomato sauce from our farmer's market. Like you can bring like small town living and slow pace to a big city.
100%. I always say I wish I lived in New York in my 20s because I can't imagine like the crazy and the fun and that experience. But I will say I'm not so sure that's true because moving here, I moved here when I was 29, but in my 30s has just been the greatest gift because I'm able to take the experiences I've had and really almost like translate them to that city living and that
Yeah.
energy. And I'm so much more careful with my energy in my 30s, what I surround myself with, who I surround myself with, how I work, how I go about my day. So I definitely think it's important when you live in these like big stimulating places to carve out your values and just be more intentional with that.
When did you feel that that began to click for you, right? Like, was there a moment where you're like, maybe you were going really fast and I don't know, something happened that slowed you down? Or was it like a year where you're like starting this year? Or would you just think it was like a slow build up and it just got you to where you are? Like, when did you start becoming your own muse?
Oh, thank you. Well, I think it's been a mix of both. So I've always really been into, I'm not a huge fan of this word, but for lack of a better word, wellness and spirituality and all of that. So I think that that's just been a part of me for as long as I can remember. But there was a moment, or rather a period of time where I really transitioned into knowing that like something had to change. I
Mm,
had a marketing company for 10 years and in 2018 I just experienced the most intense burnout of my life. I was
mhm.
working 12 to 16-hour days. I was diagnosed with PCOS and adrenal fatigue and a host of other issues, and I just realized like I cannot keep working the way I
Yeah.
am working. It was not aligned. Um, but I think that way I was working came from that hustle mentality and came from very much a scarcity mindset. I was saving as much as I could, preparing for this inevitable quote unquote rainy day I was going to experience. Um, so I think that that is when I got really serious about living more
Mm.
cyclically, living more in tune with my natural rhythms, going easier on myself, going easier on those around me. And then yeah, it just kind of took off from there. And I think each year I grow deeper and deeper into myself.
That is so my breakdown happened in 2016. So I feel like that was like very much around that time where I was the same. I'm like, this is not what I want to keep nurturing and cultivating, Like I think it worked for 12 years and it did. Like even thinking about those like 18-hour days, I'm like, that was what I was it was okay. It was what I knew. It was like the lifestyle. But it does come up here where it's like, wait a minute, I'm getting a little bit older, things are shifting. Is this the life that I want to lead? And it takes such courage to pause everything and start new and begin to really think about, well, what does this actually mean? So tell me about the transition between marketing agency to the intentional muse, because that very much feels like not a rebellion because like the intentional muse is so anchored in who she is, but it's almost like here's a space of clarity and calmness and feminine, but also strategy and action and all of that in a world that's telling you the opposite, right? So that what was that transition like for you?
To be honest, it was so from the marketing company to the intentional muse coming into the world in the format she is now in a print publication, there was so much time in between that. So
Mhm.
to rewind a little bit, I've always really loved writing. That's how I've been writing since, gosh, like as long as I can remember. I was typing in like Microsoft Word in like first grade, right? So that's just a part of who I am. And the marketing company actually stemmed from someone finding me through a lifestyle blog I had at a time, and that kind
Wow.
of
Took
turned
a
it.
life.
Yes,
Yes.
I can go into that later if you'd like. But and then in 2022, my husband and I were getting married, and we sat down and had this conversation of like I really was not feeling creatively fulfilled at my job. I thought it was my zone of genius, but not my zone of passion, which just didn't feel aligned for me. I knew I was meant to do something greater in the realm of the workplace. Um, we agreed like it was time for me to go to it, kind of now or never, return to writing. I was still freelancing a little on the side, but really let go of all of my larger clients, which was a huge leap of faith and
Yes.
trust. It did come, we saved up and all of that, but I was a little rocked. So we got back, we went to Italy for 3 months. And during
Mm.
that time, it was so beautiful, but all of our stuff was in storage. We came back to our storage unit, and it had experienced a really bad flooding incident as well as a rat infestation. You cannot make that up.
So
So
it's gone. Like everything was.
pretty much everything we owned was gone. Like starting from scratch, all of the savings that we had saved from my work was completely had to be poured into replacing all of our stuff. I'm talking mattresses, tables, you name it. It probably had to be replaced if it was in there. We managed to salvage a few important items. Um, so during that time, I was a little rocked. We had also moved outside of the city of Boston to a suburb where I realized was just not my place at all.
Yeah.
Experiencing some other things in my personal life, and I started to write the Intentional Muse on Substack online. I still write personally online. I love that. But I knew there was something greater, and it really took me like 2 good years, gosh, maybe 3 good years
Mm-hmm.
to feel like I was standing on steadier ground and ready to
Mm.
anchor into something new. I spent a lot of that time, if I'm being honest, leaning into those practices I do, spiritual wellness practices, and the mindsets I've had to cultivate. Trying to convince myself, it will all be all right. It will come to you. You're not like creatively dried up. You're going through a lot right now.
Yes.
And then, yeah, at the end of last year is when I decided to move forward with the print publication of the Intentional Muse. So there was a lot of time in between the marketing company and this to adjust and, lean into those new rhythms for sure.
Wow. I that's such an important part of the process because I think sometimes when we're looking at like whatever we label successful entrepreneurs or women that are doing their thing, we almost like forget or don't really share everything that came before, or like sometimes we read and we think this person became like an overnight success, but then you read a little bit more about their story and you're like, no, they've been doing this for 10 years or 20 years, or right, there's been a period of really nurturing and planting those seeds. When you created the Intentional Muse, what is your why, right? Especially with like print publications or really anything. We can call it print, but I think it falls to anything to be like it could be super successful or we don't know how it's going to end up, but I'm always such a big proponent on like what is your why that's going to keep you going when either people don't believe in you or things get a little rough. So when all of this was coming forward and you were planting and nurturing and creating and executing the Intentional Muse, what is your anchor to all of it? Like what is your why for your journey and your business?
Yeah, years ago, I had a mentor tell me that based on the kind of person I was and how I create, that likely my career would change many times over the course of my lifetime. But if I was anchored in a why, that would help me to stay firm and like I would have, I could look at everything from that point of view. So forever, my why has been uplifting women, supporting people, period,
Mm-hmm.
and helping them be in a space where they feel like they are their own healer, they are their own inspiration, they are their own everything, their own muse. And kind of helping them, guiding them through that process through my words. I knew always, always, always that's what I wanted to do. I'm an older sister. I feel like that's kind of what I'm put on this earth to do in some way, whether I'm
Yeah.
mothering through, a human child
Yeah.
someday or this business. And I feel like I'm able to do that through the intentional muse in such a beautiful, aligned way and without being on a pedestal and saying this is what you should do or this is what I think
Yes.
or I am the tastemaker or I am this, and instead reflecting our readers their beauty back at them and
Mhm.
all of the incredible things that they can do with their life, showing them that they're worth it, that they have what it takes, if they can dream it they can achieve it. Um and that feels just so incredible to me that I'm able to do that through my work. I mean, that's like an all-time
A
dream. I
dream, a dream. How do you stay? Like, I was thinking about this the other day as a creative person as well, because I consider myself to be really creative as well. And that is birthed through like, I'm always thinking like, what's the next program or like, the podcast or through my business, like what are ways for me to be creative? But I've really realize that the whole like social media or simulation can create like a film of separation between me and my creativity, right? And being able to just like be disciplined in certain acts to be like, okay, how do I c- have a little distance between social media or whatever it is that I'm consuming to really allow for these ideas to be birthed? Even the other day, I was like, daydreaming. We'll see if it ever happens again. But it was 2018 that I went on like a 2 week silent retreat. And it was just literally, it was 10 days, but you're silent for the full 10 days, like no phone, not, and it was just like a cleanliness of like energy and stimulation. And it was almost like cleaning the windows, that are like a little bit not dirty, but that there is this film of simulation. And the other day I was like, oh, I love the idea of doing like another, maybe not 10 days, because I think with my daughter and everything, but they're like 3 days or even like 24 hours. So for you, how do you make sure that like that your creativity stays alive, that you're also consuming, because I think there's so much beautiful things in consumption and seeing what other people are doing, but making sure that there's space for your ideas to come alive as a creative person?
That is such a great question. You mentioned it earlier, but not to, throw another product at it, but I recently got the Brick, which
Yes.
is a pretty affordable little square. It has a magnet on the back, so you can put it on your fridge, wherever. I keep mine on my nightstand. But you tap it and it can block whatever apps you want. So I'm bricked up most of the day. And honestly, I set intervals where I can go look, or if I'm posting on our Intentional Muse Instagram, or I have, things I just want to even stroll my Pinterest account. Like I can still do those things but within this window of time, and the rest of the day, if I'm bored, like so be it. It's good to be bored. And that kind of goes the same too. I'm an avid reader,
Yeah.
like you mentioned. I read so much. I listen to audiobooks on my commute, and I realized I was about to get out my headphones the other day on the subway going to Midtown, and I was like, why am I consuming more? Like I've been consuming all day. I can sit and act like it's the 90s and look at the subway wall across from me and I will be okay. So yeah, I think doing things like that even and those like quiet acts of rebellion against its, go 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 society and consume
Yes.
is really beneficial. I also think doing creative things and not posting about them is so important for me in my
Mm,
creative process,
mm,
whether that's writing or watercolors or my collages. Like, I don't put everything I create out into the world because some things are just meant for fun. And I think as a creative person that is uh, entrepreneurial and inclined to turning everything into a business, that's super important.
yeah, having just like little sacred moments of you and your art. From an energy perspective, if you when you think about energy, there is actively creating, right? There is consuming, right? And there is a period of just like neutrality. And usually, when you're thinking, even within like quantum physics and creating and manifesting, you need all three, right? You need to create, you need to consume, and you need just like quiet space. And when you're talking about the subway, of really being intentional about where are the moments in the day that are just blank, where isn't like there isn't like a podcast or music. And I love all those things. I take the bus a lot. It's just easier with a stroller and all the things. And a lot of times I'm like, okay, I'm just going to look out the window, and even being able to be a model for my daughter, because even now, like, we don't do a lot of screen, but there are a lot of like podcasts for kids. Like, there's like a Peppa Pig podcast and a Dora and all the things that she loves. So she can just like hear stories, which we love. But I'm also mindful to be like, when we're walking on the stroller, we're not listening to anything, we're just out in the park, or we're just taking a shower and we just listen to, and you need all three components to feel balanced. Like, consumption is great, creation is great, and then neutrality is great. So I think that's so important to be reminded of, like, you don't have to listen to a podcast. It might be uncomfortable at the beginning, right? To be like, there's nothing that I'm consuming. And it's like, I'm consuming the beautiful plants or the sky or the sunlight, like, I love that reminder. What are some like non-negotiables or rituals or boundaries that you have in your life? Like, I know you bake a lot, and feel like you love,
Yeah.
at least at the part that you share a lot on social media. But are there like rituals and things that you do to maintain this creativity, this energy, this like flow within you?
That is such a good question. I'm trying to think because I kind of think of everything in my life as a ritual, or everything in my life is like important, or most things. You're right. I bake a lot. I love going to the farmer's market. And to your point of being bored, I also think that part of like not constantly having headphones in or something like that is remaining open. So you mentioned my tomato sauce. That came from me talking to this farmer I randomly met at a market, and he knew a chef at the stand over that like gave me this tomato sauce recipe that I proceeded to like frantically write down, so I could go home and make it. So I definitely make time to cook and prepare our own foods. If my husband and I are both home at nights, we sit down and eat dinner together. That's a non-negotiable for me. He's not like eating in front of the computer and I'm on the couch. Like, that is our catch up time. Another ritual we have is a few nights a week we choose a book we're going to read together in bed, and he'll like read it aloud to me, which feels very romantic, and I love,
Yes.
because we love learning together about new things, and it's just a different way to do that.
Mhm.
Let's see. I walk Stabler almost every morning, either to Carl Schurz or Central. We're here on the Upper East Side, so we're really lucky to be sandwiched between the parks.
Yes.
If it's a good weather day, meaning it's not downpouring, we're pretty much out and about. Um, you know, taking time to connect with my friends and my family
Hmm.
and people I love outside of a work environment. So, like, happy hour work events and such don't really count for this, but really creating time to like recharge with the people I love outside of it having to be quote unquote productive. See
Yes.
that it is productive and it's
Yes. Like,
um
what is the intention? And sometimes it's just community, sometimes it's just like girls getting together and just talking and laughing. And that can be as quote unquote productive as sitting down and getting work done for your heart.
1,000,000%. And I think right now, with like the TikTokification of it all, we always think that having people over and gathering and being in community has to be like this big production or a theme or like fancy plates and everything. And I love hosting as much as an ex person, like I truly do. But there's nothing like just having a girlfriend over on your couch to like watch a movie and not and
Yes.
having dirty dishes in the sink. Like, that's life, and that's how you build, real community and relationships. So
And
agree.
on that note, is there anything that you feel really strongly about that sometimes you get pushback, from whether like your friends, your husband, your family, not like negative pushback, but it's a little bit where you're like, no, I'm sticking to this. Like, this is important to me. Do you ever experience things like that within people that are in your community?
I ever received pushback? I'm sure I do, and I'm just not thinking of it right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, oh gosh. I think the only thing I can think of is probably at work.
Mhm.
And people saying that don't necessarily, maybe they aren't avid readers or they're not huge print people, and they really say, I don't know, are you sure you should be doing this? Are you sure you shouldn't, adopt to a digital format? Stuff like that. Occasionally I'll get some comments around that, but that's the only thing I can honestly think.
Yeah, which is
Uh,
great, to be able to surround yourself. I think for me, like the mother component, it isn't like active pushback, but it's more like our conditioning pushback where it's
oh,
like,
yes.
you know what I mean? Where it's like if I'm not either working or taking care of my daughter, where I'm like, I want to get my nails done. I want to just go have a glass of wine and bring a book at my local, wine place. It isn't like a vocal, like, Steph, what are you doing? But it's like, what time is it? I should be home. Like, da 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 da. You know those things that you're like, have to really be like, wait a minute, it is fine. Like my husband is with my daughter. I have 2 hours. He can be with her. Calm down, chill, enjoy the wine and the book.
1,000,000%. Okay, so when you reframe it like that, yes,
Yeah.
I mean 100%. And I think I'm my own worst enemy there because of societal conditioning. I mean,
Yes.
um, making my own schedule and living within my flow. If anyone's a human design fan, I'm a projector. So
I'm a
I
generator.
work, okay, I totally see that for you. But I work a lot in a short amount of time and then I'm wiped. Like I'm not built to work like, these 9-hour days nonstop without anything. So you're right. Like sometimes, like you said, like if you're getting your nails done, or I'll go to the library, or I'll take a walk and I'll eat in the park. And I think like, oh my gosh, like what will people think of me that I'm doing this in the middle of the day? Like it's so luxurious. And then you're talking to the queen of that. I mean, I think I'm very in a privileged position to be saying this, but one of my darkest nights as a soul came from that period between my marketing company and the intentional muse, and feeling like, who am I? What are people thinking of me? I've been conditioned to have to be productive and to be this very like independent, I don't need anyone else career woman. And that's who I've
Yes.
identified as for
Yes.
forever since I was 18. I'm providing for myself. And I'm very lucky and in a privileged position where my husband was able to contribute a lot more so that I had the space to figure this out and not take on as many clients. But during that time, no one directly said anything to me.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was conditioned with and what society
Yes.
did to me was on my shoulders in a way that, even recapping it to you now, feels like so heavy and vulnerable for me to even like admit that in public on a podcast. I haven't really talked
Yeah.
about this much with people. I mean, that's huge for me. Coming from someone who used to be very proud and identify as a business owner and a breadwinner in my family and all of these things. Yeah, it was the most uncomfortable crawl out of my skin experience.
Listen, so much like credit because we can either let that almost like eat us up, or I think having like I think at the beginning of the journey it feels like it's like eating you up. And then you begin to be like, wait a minute, like what is this conditioning? Is this something that serves me? Is this something that supports me? Is it okay for seasons where the woman is the breadwinner and then the man is the breadwinner and we can dance? I know couples that they literally, it's like this actually is one couple I know and she's my client, but her and her husband have like this agreement that like every 4 or 5 years, one of them is going to take like a corporate job and the other one is just going to do their passions. And then the other one takes a corporate job and the other one do, and like, anything, you know what I mean? Like it all works, but I think it's us constantly asking ourselves. And I think being a mom now, I know that it's been so prevalent for me to be like, okay, is this a thing that I'm telling her to do or not to do because I believe or because I've been conditioned to believe? And then I have to like peel the layer of the onion, you know? And even
Yeah.
the other day, she was wearing a shirt that was like showing her belly, which I think is so cute. And then my husband was like, babe, her shirt is like, you know, a little short or whatever. She's like 3.5. So it's like the cutest thing. And I remember like asking and being like, wait a minute. Are we now, the conditioning is like, you know, don't show, and this generation is so different, but like don't show your belly or like have, I don't know, certain ways that we're dressing or whatever. And it's like, so men don't come and tell you things because you're inappropriate, but it's up to the woman to like, you know, be more conservative with her body so we're not asking for outside opinions, or she gets to wear whatever she wants and she gets to have that inner confidence to be like f off or don't, but that becomes such a thing where it's like that's right, you know, like let's not put that on her if we've been with certain conditionings that are not necessarily serving for the life that we want to create.
1,000,000%. You're raising such a strong little girl.
Thank you.
And I think that that's so important and that we could all take from it. I mean, I know so, not to go off on a tangent, but speaking of
Go,
this
go girl.
particular area, I have so many close friends and very, very close people in my life that have been hurt by this idea that you had of like, you know, maybe they weren't dressed a certain way um or they weren't, you know, conservative enough for their surroundings, and that hurt them. And it absolutely is not up to the woman. It is up for us to teach the future generations of men to be better.
Be better, and then
I
for us to be like, yeah, I'm gonna show my you know, my cleavage, I'm gonna show my belly, I'm gonna show, you get to decide. I know that there could be consequences or not, but it's like let's be conservative in order not to elicit an opinion, you know,
Yeah.
and that could apply to our bodies, to our words, even obviously for you with the intentional muse. Like there are certain topics that I'm sure it's like, oh, some people are not gonna like it. Well, this needs to be said, you know, and even as a public person, we think like, I think about my family, you know, like they're going to see this. What are they going to think? And I always ask myself when I feel like I am shrinking, because I'm like, and my family's super supportive, but yeah, you're going to have different opinions with people in your life, right? And I'm like, if no one were to be mad, if no one were to disapprove of me, what would I do? And that usually helps me clean out, you know, the voice that are like, don't do that because ABC, where I'm like, all right, well, ABC is going to come, and I still feel like it's important to have this opinion or conversation or whatever that may be.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you're going to sleep with yourself. You have to feel good about the actions you took and what you put out into the world. And they don't.
Right. So going to bed, sleep at night with that peace of mind. You talked a little bit about, if I'm understanding correctly, so are you a full-time business owner or are you part-time business owner? I want to give people that there are so many ways to be a business owner. So I'm curious to know what is your setup within your business and your structure in your life?
Yeah, I love that you talk about this. I think especially with women, it's like so taboo, and or you
Yeah.
have to think that you have to like blow up your life to be a business owner. So I'm very lucky that I've been able to remain a full-time business owner since that marketing company, just through various means. But there was a time in my career with marketing that I actually took a larger full-time job with a client of mine. They basically needed more of me, and that was security, and they let me keep some of my other clients. So I have taken, you know, like that more traditional job. It was still remote and 4 days a week, but I have done that. I will say though, that's not the only path to take.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a million ways to build, and I think that the world is better set up for that now more than ever. And I think that there's so many opportunities and ways to learn and ways to put out whatever it is you want out into the world. So if you want to host an events company and you are working full time, could you put out one event a quarter for your community? It doesn't
Yeah.
always have to look like you're all in, all or nothing. It
Mm-hmm.
be a fun flow and a fun dance and really gaining your footing and then seeing if you even like it before you decide to, leave a corporate job. I also think with me, um, I've been able to be a full-time business owner, but at times I've wished, like, it's not always rainbows and butterflies. At times I've wished I had somebody telling me what to do or that I had more funding to funnel into my business.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
um, definitely in a product industry like I'm in now, which is so new. It's been down and dirty learning, and so fun and rewarding. But I mean, in that sense, it does take a little money to make money. You have to
Mm-hmm.
have the startup costs, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I had a corporate job or something prior, maybe that transition would have been smoother.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the mentorship you can gain at those types of roles. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to talk to anyone who wants to talk. Email me about this. I could go on for a long time.
That no, but that's such a good reminder of make it work for you. You know, like I kind of went all in because I'm also like very impulsive. And I think it was time. But I also taught, spinning on the side, and I worked at like the little Equinox clothing shop on the side while I was also building my coaching business. And you don't have to talk about any of that if you just want to have an image of whatever the business might be. You can also do your approach where you're working full time and you're little by little testing and like, figuring out if this is your path. I think Liz Gilbert talks about this, about like, sometimes if you put too much pressure on your passion and your purpose and that becomes a sole income earner, then that can take away from the fun. So I think it's like it becomes such a beautiful journey of like self experimentation of how does this work for you and how can you make it work for you. I think the one thing that I have proven over the years is that, I'm not the only one, people do this all the time, but make it work for you. Like the year that I tripled my business in the last 2 years after giving birth, I was working a third of what I've ever worked before. And that is, you're like, no, you work more and you make more. No, actually, you can work less and make more. So it's all about that mindset and the framework of like, how does it work for you? When it comes to this season of your life, what are your current edges? Like what are the things that you're like, Steph, this feels like a limiting belief, or this feels a little bit difficult. This is something that I'm like exploring within myself for that next level of expansion.
Mm. Okay, well, first off, I have to say, I think Big Magic has been brought up in every podcast recording I've ever done because it's my go-to book. So I love that you brought it up this time.
Again, because you're like, yep.
It's so good, and it's like the kind of book you can just
Mm.
go back to and back to and back to. But
And
anyway,
also it's
Edge.
beautiful. The cover is
So good.
beautiful. I just
I what edges don't I have? Like I'm at a point in the business where things are really starting to snowball and grow. We're launching our first live workshop series in September. We're, hosting some events this fall. In addition to the paper, I just got in actually to a store in the village, which is super exciting. And I'm like, this particular store, which I probably shouldn't name quite yet, but they were like my number one dream for 2025. Like they are number one. I have it in my journal, like number one, get my newspaper into this store.
And you
Um,
did it. Congratulations. I
it
can't wait for the
happened
official announcement.
yesterday. Yeah, you're breaking news. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. But an edge I had when I went in there and I pitched them was, oh my gosh, like this paper would look, so much easier to sell and so much better if it was a magazine. And I don't know, like, do we even have enough subscribers to be in here, like next to this person? Or
Mm.
or we can't afford our own photo shoots yet. So we're using these images, but I just know it look better and I want to show them like what I have in my mind. And all these things were coming up. And meanwhile, I'm like shoulders back, pitching myself, like, oh, yes, answering all their questions. But that was a huge edge. I mean, and that was less than 24 hours ago. So to say I run into edges, and I think it's very natural as a business owner that
Yeah.
is direct to consumer, um, every day.
Every day. And I think, sometimes the way I combat that, because I'm the same, I do a lot of like partnerships and collaborations. Right now, the game that I'm playing with that is like a game of numbers because now I'm like constantly sending proposals that then sometimes like the brand pops in my feed and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I like send them an email or like I walk by their store and I'm like, oh, I wonder what happened with that. But it's become so many that it takes away from like, I send it to this one brand that I'm really excited. I wonder if they're going to reply. Like, I would love to work with all of them, but it's helped me with that confidence to just be like, I'm just going to do a ton and then they'll all feel the same and I won't make one brand more special than the other. So that has been like a fun little game to just kind of beat my own but the fact that when you have something on your journal and that comes to life, I mean that feeling is so special. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. It was huge. And to be honest, I wasn't planning on it. I was in the neighborhood and I was like,
Those are the best.
you're gonna effing do this, Kaylee. Like you are gonna go in there and you're gonna just say it and you're gonna blurt it out and whatever.
Listen, I've got my best partnerships from exactly that energy. Like, I'm just like, I'm here. I've thought about it the last 20 times I've been in the neighborhood. Like, I'm walking in and I'm knocking on the door. And then they're like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, that's right. Yes.
It was a lot like that. He literally asked me, he's like, you have them on you now? I'm like, I can be back in a couple days. Like, I didn't realize it was gonna be this,
Easy.
which I think is a good lesson. And I think it's a good lesson too to like shoot your shot and talk to people
Shoot it,
and
baby.
remain open. Another example of this, I was having a working lunch the other day in the neighborhood. I sat next to this man who was having lunch with his daughter. His daughter had to go back to work. We got to talking. He gave me the LinkedIn of one of his very good friends who is potentially contributing to the Intentional Muse and is a great, great connection. But that would have never happened if I had remained closed off or had my AirPods in or something like that. You have to be open and talk to people.
I love that. Shoot your shot. Before we move into these little rapid fire, because when I'm listening to podcasts, I'm always like, I love rapid fires. So before we move into that, if for the women that are listening and they're wanting to step into their own muse energy, whatever that means to them, because it can be like full achievement, high ambition, all in, or it can be slow, flowy, steady. Like you get to make up your own muse. But what would you want her, like, what would be a piece of advice to be like, this is what helped me step into my own muse energy?
My gosh, that's impossible. There's so many prompts or rituals I want to give people. Honestly, the first thing that came to mind, and I know that this isn't always easy, especially if maybe you have children around or depending on where you live, but walk around naked in your home. I mean that so sincerely right now. Like walk around naked
Yes.
and like worship your own body. Like look at
Mhm.
yourself in the mirror and talk to yourself. Be like you're so beautiful today. Or like look at
Yeah.
your legs today. Like you're looking so good. Or like your hair. Or like wow, like you're smart and stunning. And like what a gift. Like what a gift. And I think that when you feel that confidence you portray that in every room you go into, every creative act, every business, everything else flows from that state of like self-love. And I think that that for me in a world that's if you aren't a size 0, you're not beautiful, or if you don't have, this procedure, you're not worthy. And I think that that's BS and untrue. And I think get naked and it'll help.
Radical self-love. Like love
Yes.
yourself. That is beautiful. That is so important. And that becomes like a constant daily practice with everything. When I like my daughter's, obviously she's 3, she's watching every move that I make. And I'm like intentionally like things that I normally wouldn't do, but if I look myself in the mirror, I'm like, you are so pretty, Steph. Or like I give myself a kiss and then I catch her in her own little spare moments doing those things because normally like we're not that like I do it, but I'm more do it in my head, you know? But if I have this little beautiful girl and she's constantly looking at me, I'm like, all right, let me vocalize that. And in turn, it has also helped me, you know, in the things that normally I wouldn't vocalize about myself. So love, 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 love that tip. Okay, rapid fire. Current obsession, whether it's like food or TV or books, like what's something that feels really fun for you?
The bear.
Oh, the
Started
bear!
it. We're like way, way behind, and we're on almost on season 3, and I'm going to be legitimately very, very sad when we're
When it ends. Who inspires you? I know you talk a lot about mentors that you haven't met, which I'm the same way, but currently in this chapter of your life, like who is a muse or a mentor for you?
Diane von Furstenberg.
Yeah, I saw the picture you posted her on Sarah. I love Sarah Blakely. She's like a huge, I've never met mentor. And that together, I was like, yes, 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 yes. What book do you have on your nightstand?
Shakti mantras.
Ooh, what is a practice that you or a ritual that you're really enjoying right now?
Kundalini.
Yeah, Kundalini is so powerful. And what is bringing you joy today?
My non-caffeinated, like fake coffee, but it tastes like real coffee. It's the best ever.
Is it from that tea company?
So it's called Ticino. Is that what
Yes,
you think? Okay.
yes,
Yes.
yes. It's awesome.
I'm amazed. I'm going through a health thing right now, and I'm like leaning off of caffeine and acid. So I went frantically looking for a coffee substitute. I'm like, this actually tastes like coffee. No caffeine, no acid, like prebiotics. I'm amazed.
It is so good. I was drinking that. You know what? I'm gonna get back to that because I was drinking that before I got pregnant. Because same, it's like caffeine is not great if you're trying to conceive and all the things. And caffeine sometimes is just like an upper.
Yeah,
And I was obsessed, and I think I still may have some. So thank you for that reminder. Ticino is
yeah.
so delicious.
It is so good.
You are giving our incredible audience a first free issue of the Intentional Muse. So thank you for that generosity. I'm going to put the code in the notes, but it's Joyful Muse. If you want to head on to the Intentional Muse, where can people find you and how can they connect with you? What do you have up and coming?
Oh, thank you. This is so much fun. But they can find me some more at theintentionalmuse.com if they'd like to get a copy of the paper. They can follow us on Instagram at The Intentional Muse. And if they want to connect with me personally, they are free to on Instagram at Kaylee Milius. And yeah, I would love to connect with people further. If you want to write for the Muse, we also accept art contributions. So we've had, gosh, fine art paintings, collages, quiz, so many different mediums. If you're more of a poet, we've had poetry. We're open to publishing whatever speaks to you and uplifting your message to the masses.
Oh, Kaylee, you are such a like a sunshine, a delight. I feel like you really embody feminine energy in a way that is like palpable. Like you meet you and I'm like, she is a woman who's really embodied in what you do. Thank you for our conversation today. I am so excited for everybody to listen and thank you for your just generosity. Please get your issue and you're gonna love it. I think it's monthly or quarterly. I forget. Tell
It
me.
is monthly.
Okay.
So we'll get it at the top of the month. And if they subscribe, I can even try to dig up some of your papers that you've published.
Oh, that is fun. So good. Thank you for your time. And go check out Kaylee, The Intentional Muse. Thank you again for your time today. It was so wonderful.
Thank you.